Defelonize drugs. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be held accountable for doing drugs and stuff like that. I'm saying they shouldn't be going to prison. I think if we, and keep in mind, I did not say decriminalize. I said defelonize. We still need a justice system. We still need people that are fighting for the rights of victims. There's still crimes out there that have victims, but there's crimes out there that are victimless, right? Meaning that there wasn't a victim yet. And so a guy gets pulled over in his car and he's got some para on him, or maybe has a little bit of meth on him, and now he has a felony for the rest of his life. He didn't hurt anybody, but he could have. That's always the argument whenever we have this discussion, is they could have. And so what we're doing is like Minority Report with Tom Cruise, where they're trying to look into the future to see who's going to commit crime and then convicting them of those crimes before they actually do them. That's what war on drugs is they're locking people up so that they might not commit crimes in the future by making something that's a criminal offense that's actually mental health. The war on drugs would be completely destroyed with one swipe of a pen that defelonized. It's such a stupid word. Drugs. And treat it like a mental health thing. Putting the human back in human services and treating the disease of addiction and the disease of alcoholism, and I'll even go so far as to say is the disease of mental health that has been handed over and over and over through systematic and generational trauma. My grandpa being molested, my dad being molested too, and then me being molested, I'm still dealing with the stuff that my grandpa never dealt with and handed down to my dad. Imagine like how you feel when you're standing in a circle of people, right? And the person that you're standing next to has his back to you, so you're not a part of the circle, right? What that does for you and how that makes you feel, now intensify that 1,000, is the natural state of my grandpa. And then he handed that down through the way that he raised my dad. And so by default, my dad was already subpar mentally because of the way that he was raised, because of the undiagnosed stuff that my grandpa went through. And it all came down to me, and now I'm dealing with 3 generations worth of trauma and not even knowing it. And so when some guy comes to me and tells me that he needs me to do a job, and he kind of smugs me a little bit, and it triggers when I was like molested when I was a kid, and I'm expected to just get over it. And they don't understand why I'm short with people at work, or I don't show up to work because someone there looks like the guy who molested. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different variables that we can't automate this stuff. We have to have a sit-down conversation like this and get to know each other, and so I can fully understand what I'm trying to help. We need clinical professionals. We need therapists. We need licensed addiction counselors. We need peer supports, people who are not licensed to do any of that stuff, but just to be a support in the community. That's the missing piece. Treatments are funded. They always have beds full, and they're always taking insurance money, and they always have money coming in them. They even have access to like grants and vouchers and stuff to always make sure that those beds are full. But then what happens when they leave, right? Like treatment should be like a year long. It's 30 days. It's a catch and release program. It's like fishing and not being able to eat because you have to throw everything back. And what happens when you take that fish off the line and you throw it back? It's not the same fish. It's got a busted up lip now. It's hurt. And then we never know what happens to the fish. The same with the people that we throw out of there. We never know what happens to them because we have no peer supports in the community. We do now. We got like 500 of them. I trained probably 400 of them on how to do peer supports in the community for people who are coming out of jail or coming out of prison or coming out of treatment. And now there's a little ecosystem of like Lighthouse Church and Community Options and when Lutheran Social Services was here and the Hope Manors and Independent Living and like all these places are popping up and they are overwhelmed and busy as shit. Literally, people are working like 80 hours a week to just try and provide services of people who are coming out of treatment and prison and jail. I don't know if you knew this, but at one time, North Dakota was the 4th fastest growing prison system in America.